Thank you guys for taking the time to speak with us today. Start off with some brief introductions. Starting with myself, my name is Jack. I am the partnership lead here at Good for Earth. One thing that really got me in a climate space was just really growing up and seeing the environment change around me was pretty impactful. So that's kind of my personal engagement with this space. So I really hope to change that for the future, and maybe if one day I have kids, they grow up in a great environment. And then going with Pyle, my boss, our CEO here at Good for Earth. She has always been a champion of product, technology, program management, strategy, operation spending for over 20 years, helping companies like Cornerstone On Demand, Warner Bros. To develop, manage, and strategize their business-to-business products, services, data, and technologies. Founding Good for Earth has been a social entrepreneur's dream come true, where she can continue to leverage what she has learned and experienced over these years towards earth-friendly solutions for organizations and individuals. And now for our guest, Mr. Hassan. He has been a primary school teacher since 2005. He's worked in the London boroughs of Haringey and Barnet as both a class teacher and in leadership positions before moving to Oakland's primary school in Hertfordshire in September of 2021 to take up his first headship. He was born and grew up in North London before moving to Herts in 2012, where he used to commute to schools as he worked in London. He now enjoys the rural setting with his family and does not miss the commute or contributing to the pollution, driving on the A1 and A406 5 times a week. All right, and just getting right into it, Mr. Hassan.
Hi.
Why do you think why is the environment and sustainability important to you?
I think you touched on a couple of things, Jack, when you were doing your intro around seeing the environment change around you. And I can remember in the 1980s being at school and the CFCs being this big thing. It was like, oh, there's a hole in the ozone layer, and not really understanding what it was, but that it was a bad thing, and we had to stop using CFCs, and you know, these sort of things then sort of take a bit of they disappear for a while and they come back. But I think right now with the internet, with all the global communication that goes on, I think it's now front and center, and everybody knows it. People can't hide it anymore. You know, there's large corporations that are polluting the planet, the governments that are polluting the planet, the things that we do, the choices we make in our everyday life that we didn't even realize were having an impact on the planet are all front and center. So you walk around with this guilt almost that every decision I make on a daily basis, the majority of them are going to have some sort of carbon footprint, even down to staggered a couple of years ago to find out that there's a carbon footprint for an email. I was like, oh my goodness, everything I do, it's almost impossible to escape that. And then you touched on children, and when my wife and I have two young children, and you do look at the world differently, and it's a blessing and actually joy to have children. It's also the most terrifying thing I think in the world, because what example have we set, and what are they inheriting? I know we see this all the time, the children are inheriting all the problems that have come before. It's so true. So for me, it's really important that this remains front and center, but that we start to find ways to tackle it rather than just learn about it and be scared of it, which is kind of where I've been for a long time. And now working with Pyle in the school, we're in a position where we can really start to hopefully have some impact rather than just be terrified of climate change and know that it's bad and walk around feeling terribly guilty about everything we do.
And why in particular is it important for schools and universities to kind of take charge on these sustainability initiatives?
I mean, first of all, it's about modeling what you want to happen. And anything you do in a school or any sort of learning environment, you have to model what it is that you want the outcome to be. And we've all been talking a lot about the environment over the last few years. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of, I would say, tokenistic things that we can do, like let's have a week where we turn off the lights. That's okay, we've done that. I think if we can get to a position where educating our children and our young people to be able to really affect change and show them that they can affect change, then that's where that's going to come from. And we now have, as I spoke about earlier, these means of communication where their voices can be heard. Whereas, when I was growing up, as I said, it was you'd hear something on Newsround or on the BBC, and then it's gone again, and something else comes up. Yeah, so I think we've got to set that example. We've got to be at the forefront of it. This is what children want. And you talk to children. This is the other thing that's really important. They really do know about this stuff, right down to my daughter's in the same class as Pyle's daughter. They know about the environment. They talk about it. I asked my daughter what she wants to do when she grows up, and she said a litter picker, which is lovely. I said maybe you can do that alongside a job, but they are very, very aware of it. So I think we are ideally placed to start making these changes.
And what are some of these changes you're making, and kind of how has Good for Earth kind of stepped in to help with those things?
I mean, some of the easy wins. So we've just swapped out all of our lights in the school. All of our internal lights are now LED to save energy. My site manager, he puts a piece of paper on my desk fairly regularly, which is an order form for things that he needs around the school. And I was signing these forms, not really looking at them. And one day I said, Neil, we're getting a lot of orders for paper towels. This is a lot of paper towels. And we worked out that we were spending over £3,000 a year on paper towels. So then we looked, and these are not recyclable either. These paper towels, you can't recycle them. They go straight in the waste. They're just terrible. We looked into alternatives. We've now taken them out of the school entirely. We have electric hand dryers throughout the school, low wattage. We've already paid for them through not having these paper towels. There's a few things that we're doing, turning the heating down, for example. Just that made a big difference, because I don't know how things are where you are, but we've had this huge increase in energy costs. So straight away we're like, okay, let's just turn it down a couple of degrees. And actually it was fine. People, it's okay to wear a jumper. It's okay to, put a coat on. And then actually for me, what's been quite transformational is working with Good for Earth, because whilst these are all things I'd like to do and things I think are good to do, time is really difficult. And managing time and finding the space to do these projects, alongside all the other pressures that you have as a head teacher and as a school and all the statutory things we have to deliver. Having someone come along and say, okay, I can hold your hand through this, and actually it's not that difficult. If we can do lots of the legwork for you, it was, it's a bit of a godsend, really. And I know something that Pyle and I are really excited about at the moment is we're having the school surveyed to see if we can have solar panels put across the roof. We get sun all day long, and that would, for me, that would be an amazing legacy for when I do walk away from the school at some point. Say, look what we've left. So there's lots of things we're doing, and trying to build on those things. One of the other things that we're reinstituting this year is an eco council, which we had last year but sort of went by the wayside a bit, again because of the pressures of the education system and all of the other things we had to do. But now this year we've got the right person in place. One of my members of staff is really keen on this type of project, who also delivers forest schools at Oakland, is leading on that now. So we've got the right person, the children want to do it, and again it comes back to empowering those children to make change. So part of becoming an eco school, those children have to choose eco projects, to survey the school, decide what projects they want to do, deliver those projects, lead assemblies, gather evidence. So it's empowering the children to make a difference.
Awesome. And then going to Pyle, what kind of excites you the most about this engagement?
First of all, Mr. Hassan has been so open, just had a conversation with him and hey, I'd like to try this. And he was like, sure, why not? We've been wanting to do this. It's just that we never had the right resources. So that is that open-mindedness, right, which is there throughout the school. It's Mr. Hassan, his staff, parents, students, the whole, all the stakeholders that we're involved with, they are coming at it with such an open mind and are just kind of, more than happy to come together and do something. So that's definitely has been very easy and exciting. The other exciting part, as just Mr. Hassan mentioned, is just educating the future generation, right? That's the most important part, because that is going to have such a long-lasting effect. Things that we teach them today, the eco councils, which they are all going to come together. There are 7 topics. I myself am getting so much educated on this whole, process of getting eco certified. That has been really, really helpful. And third, and the most impactful, is we try to help the school install solar panels. Just the estimate, what we are estimating is around 22 tons of carbon dioxide every year can be reduced. So that is almost equivalent to planting 600 to 800 trees, right? And so that to me is true impact. Really can't wait to get to that point where we have this project completed, we've had the solar panels installed, and really kind of work towards a net zero journey for this organization. So those are the 3 things that are pretty exciting, impactful, and engaging for me.
Awesome. That's really cool. Mr. Hassan, with Earth Day and Earth Week, what commitments have you made for the school, and then also maybe even personally, just for yourself?
I mean, for the school, the big one for me is reinstating the Eco Council, because that's something that when I interviewed for the job, I talked about that, wanting to do that, and now we're in a position where we can do that, and it can be really impactful. So I mean, that's the big commitment. So it goes beyond Earth Week. It's we want the children this needs to be front and center all the time. And for myself, I've not made any hard and fast commitments, but it's things like, I mean, one of the big things I've talked to the children about at home a lot is waste. One of the things that I've grown, I don't know if it's just because I'm now middle-aged and grumpy, but suddenly it's just, I hate wasting anything. And I'll come back to what I said earlier about this carbon, everything's got a carbon cost. So, why are we throwing this food away? This cucumber's come from the other side of the planet, and the amount, we've got to eat it, and we've got to find a way of using this food up. And being hot on recycling and using the food waste bins if we have to. That's something we've instigated recently at home, and talking to the children about, look, actually, do we need strawberries at Christmas time? Is that really necessary? One of the big things we're doing at home is looking at food and looking at food waste and trying to educate the children and ourselves about how to reduce that. But the big thing at school is definitely going to be the Eco Council, because I think that could have such a long-lasting impact on all of the children that come through Oaklands.
Great. Yeah, and Pyle, and then going back to you, the same question. How has Good for Earth kind of taken on Earth Week, and you as well personally?
So there's definitely a lot going on the personal front. Food, actually, the entire food system contributes to at least 26% of global greenhouse gases. So it's quite huge. Mr. Hassan said, like food waste, that's something that, we as a family have been watching and figuring out ways how to kind of reduce that. But I have a daughter that it really inspires me every time. She has like such amazing, attitude. So I'm a vegetarian, and I always wanted to go vegan, but was never able to pull the trigger. She and I have decided to go vegan at least twice a week. So that's what we are doing. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going vegan, and hopefully once we are able to transition into it, more days. So I think the whole point being like reducing our carbon footprint through reducing the whole food management. So that's one thing definitely we are looking into as a family. And traveling sustainably, that is another thing, because we do love to travel, and we know that definitely has carbon footprint. So how do we kind of make sure we travel sustainably? So that's those are the two things that personally we are looking into. From a Good for Earth perspective, there's actually a lot of commitments that we would like to do, is like helping organizations like schools and universities, restaurants and hotels, and mainly small and mid-sized businesses who really struggle with time, resources, and knowledge and skills, right? We really want to kind of be there to help them to get on their net zero journey and customize our solution in a way that is more suitable for them to run their businesses more successfully, right? So it has to be a solution that is good for the business or the organization, as well as good for the planet. And that's what we're committed to do this year.
Awesome. And as we are coming on time and wrapping up this great conversation, Mr. Hassan, is there anything you'd like to share with any other schools or universities who may be looking to be more sustainable?
I think, well, first I touched this again earlier. Check what you're signing off when you're signing, when people are buying things. Because even those little things, those little details, they add up. And so that's something I would definitely look at. What are the small things you can change? Because small things do add up over time. And then the other thing I think is that this is something that children and young people are really, really engaged with, and it's something that they're passionate about. And when children are that engaged, and people are really, really engaged in something, that's when the best learning is going to happen. The best problem solving is going to happen. The collaboration is going to happen. So look for opportunities to embrace it and run with it and harness that, because that's what children are and young people are really, really passionate about. So I think if we can harness that.
Awesome. Kyle, any closing remarks from you?
So much, Mr. Hassan, for taking time, and we are looking forward to help many more organizations like yourself and really create positive impact.